Welcome everyone. I'm here with Tom Dixon tonight. Tom, what a pleasure to have you here. What has brought you to the Patrick Treutlein store in Düsseldorf tonight?
Well, mainly the amazing way that he's able to present our products, right? So I think we've strangely been having some success in Germany just recently. And Düsseldorf, I don't know. It's the first time I've been here.
Oh, really?
And so it's kind of great to see that this is one of the really most polished displays I've seen in the world. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, congratulations on your success in Germany. And talking about what we see here, these portable lamps, you also presented them at the Salone di Mobile. Could you tell us some more what inspired you to create the lamps that we see here, like the bell, for example, or the melt in the background?
So obviously we're not the first people to do portable lighting, but technology has really improved and changed, partly because there's been this efficiency in battery technology. The whole world is going wireless now. It doesn't matter whether it's your phone or your computer or your scooter. Battery power is everything right now. So I think, illumination has been a bit late to that party, but suddenly we're in a position with batteries and with LED bulbs to be able to give maybe 10 hours of luminosity from a portable lamp. So it's kind of nice to think that this is a bit like going back to the future, really, where, historically, 200 years ago, before gas came along, you didn't have to have a cord to your light. You walked around with your candle, right? So there's something very kind of personal about having a light that you can have with you. And I think also the COVID years kind of taught us that we wanted to have maybe to eat outdoors or maybe to take a light to a little corner that you wanted privacy in, so this kind of mobility and flexibility is very much what's going on right now. And, we do portables that are, very metallic or even out of marble like this one, which, have a real solid materiality. Yeah. Right. So I think we're fortunate to be in a sector anyway where people feel very comfortable about living with things that have been through the generations. I lived with my great-grandmother's writing desk, for instance, and she bought it as an antique, right? Yeah. So, when I see my objects in an antique shop, which I saw last weekend, actually, suddenly I think I've succeeded because I'm in a different context, with antiques, and B, the things are already come in to a second cycle. So, because the brand has been going on for 20 years, we can kind of tell which ones have got long life and which ones don't. Yeah. So that's the only thing that we can guarantee. But obviously we're doing all the things that we should. We know the provenance of all the materials. We try and keep things very simple so they are recyclable. We experiment in things like cork and materials that are less toxic to the planet just in general. Yeah. But it's always very difficult to claim absolute sustainability, and there's a lot of greenwash out there for sure. Yeah.
And you just mentioned cork. Can you name like some more unusual new materials that you have been experimenting with?
Well, I mean, everybody's experimenting with mycelium at the moment, so mushrooms are a big story. So we've been playing with that, not so much for packaging, but for things like scent diffusers and actually architecture as well.
Yeah, interesting. And you don't only create for your own label, Tom Dixon, you also work with big brands like Vitra or Capellini. Why do you go on these excursions?
Well, I mean, Capellini was many years ago before I created my own label. So, I'm not working so much with the other furniture brands. But when we have something that makes logical sense, like, I don't know, industrial carpets or bathroom fittings, but we don't really have the means to distribute. People buy in a different way. We'll do it as a collaboration with a brand that we respect and has got the right manufacturing quality and distribution.
Yeah. Okay, but like when it comes to working with other brands, like what criteria do you set for them to work with you?
I like having new adventures. I mean, for me, it's almost like trying to improve or to do something which is new and different to what they're already doing. I mean, obviously we like to have things which have got the same material qualities and the same sensibility as us. But I think for me, collaboration is always about being complementary and adding some of your skills to what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So like 2 questions about the products you have designed so far and not have designed so far. Mm-hmm. From everything you have done so far, do you have a personal favorite? Only one?
I'm really very bad at favorites because, for me, it's like I see a lot of, I never really think anything's finished. I always want to improve it a bit, so it's quite difficult for me to just point at something which is my favorite. It's just like, like children, right? I mean, I've done recently a chair called Hydra, which is an experiment in more kind of high-tech manufacturing, which I quite like the shape of, but I see some faults there. So no, I don't have a favorite. There's things that have been significant in my career, specifically the S chair, which has went into many different versions, but ended up in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, which is kind of great because I've always loved museums as a source of inspiration. So it's kind of nice to be there as well. Yeah,
that's true. And like, is there something that you really would love to create that you haven't done so far?
Well, I mean, the advantage of design as a profession is really that there's so many possibilities to design things that I've never tried. I mean, I always like surprises, right? So a project that I didn't expect to do. But if I was, honestly given totally the choice, I'd like to do bigger things. It's like, so because we've done product and then we've done interior design, I've done a little bit of architecture, but it'd be good to go on a much bigger scale, like, maybe designing a city or designing, a way of saving the world might be good as well right now.
Yeah, that's true. That would be good.
Design peace plans.
That would be good.
That's what I mean. It's sort of design is kind of, it's such an elastic word as well. It's not, if you think of the distinction between, say, fashion design and I don't know, like software design is so different, the activity, but it's really just about improving things a little bit, or quite a lot.
Yeah. That's true. But like talking about like designing something big, something like a city, you also have a research studio and an interior design team. Could you tell us about some projects that you're doing there?
Sure. I mean, we call it Design Research Studio because I wanted something which was a playground for not Tom Dixon. So, it's like, well, when you have a brand, you need to keep a certain aesthetic and a certain sensibility, a certain price point. So the design service, which does a lot of interiors and a bit of branding, and is called Design Research Studio. So it can really work in lots of different sensibilities, sometimes in the client's brand guidelines or whatever, right? So we do a lot of projects, whether that's a lot of interior projects. We just finished a funny project in Japan, for instance, which is a members club for people that love their cars. So it's kind of a series of garages, and then above it a clubhouse, so for petrol heads, so they keep their cars down there, and then they will gather above, and people who don't have cars can also join the club if they love cars. Kind of. Sure. So that's a really odd little project we've just finished in Japan. And then in Scandinavia, we've done a much bigger project, which is all about the evolution of how we live. So, very tiny apartments with very big communal spaces. So it's sort of done, I guess, 2,500 apartments that are micro living, and then the public or the shared spaces for working or for laundry or for are much more generous and much more communal. So it's kind of the evolution of how people live these days. And it could be a student, or it could be somebody downsizing because they're retiring or whatever.
But coming back from like big projects and those interior projects to the products that we see here, like these lamps, how would you describe your design style? I mean, like the people on the camera or behind the camera will see what we see here. But if you would describe it to someone that can't see anything at all right now, what would you say?
I've tried to think of a way of encompassing what I do, and obviously, I could talk about it for a while, but if I try and distill it to the minimum phrase, I think I came up with expressive minimalism. You know, so I like things to still look like a lamp or feel like a lamp, not just be so minimal that they're like a cube or something that you can't recognize the function. So they need to be they need to express their function and speak of what they do. But I don't like lots of decoration particularly. So we play a lot with, materials and often materials in their kind of color of origin. We play a lot with metallics because I'm very interested in how you make things. So there's a kind of a slight engineering kind of aspect to them, but they're fairly simple. You know, they're not really complicated, but they have a strong silhouette. I think is also their feature. They kind of stand out a bit in a room. Yeah. I hope. Maybe.
I mean, here definitely.
Okay. Well, here what's amazing is because the background is so restrained and so unified in these kind of dark tones. The stuff really sticks out. So very nice to see it so polished and trot line here.
Yeah, that's true.
We saw it from across the road. It was looking very luminous.
But like some time ago, you also said that for you, design isn't just a job, it's alchemy in a way. How does that go together with like how you just described your design style? Can you explain it to us?
Well, I think my inspiration was always, going to a factory or finding a material that I like playing with. And, I still do that. I like to know how things actually are made before I try and design, So, and I thought about the alchemy thing when people asked me what my first encounter with design was. And I had a not very good school that I went to, but they had a great pottery class, ceramics class. What was kind of amazing was getting the lump of clay, which has no shape, no function, and then turning it into something practical. I found very fascinating. So I think that's the alchemy, is you get something which probably has very little value and you turn it into something that people desire. And that's the alchemy of the job. And when I kind of discovered I could do that, it was like being a magician, So people would buy my stuff, and I found that really kind of thrilling. I was making things for fun, really, when I started, and then people started buying them, and I was like, oh, this is magic. Yeah. And then when they gave me the money, the gold, it was alchemy, right? Yeah,
that's true. And maybe that's also the secret. Like you said, these lamps can run for up to 10 hours, right?
10 hours, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you're an incredibly creative workaholic. How do you recharge your batteries? Or is it because it doesn't feel like work?
You're making a link between the product and the person. That's good, yeah. I'm not actually a workaholic at all. I've managed to find a job which is more like, was my hobby. So I'm very fortunate in that way. I mean, in terms of recharging my batteries, I get energy from what I do, so I don't actually need to recharge at all. The advantage of having your own label is that you don't have anybody telling you that you have to really sit in front of the computer for 8 hours a day and do the same thing. I'm involved in the product development and manufacturing and the design and the marketing and the communication, and every day is different. So I get energy from, really just being in new places, which is again why it's so nice to be Düsseldorf, and also to see the people that do the difficult stuff, which is selling the stuff. I've always found the design part actually really easy. I was never very good at selling, so I've got a lot of respect for the people that do what I consider to be the difficult stuff. The people who do the selling and have to convince people to part with the money.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you.
Great. With that, I think we have learned a lot of interesting facts about you, about your products in the last minutes. And thanks for being here. And I really hope that you enjoy your first time in Düsseldorf.
I'm already enjoying it, actually, yeah.
Great.
We've had a good walk around town, and we've been very well hosted already, so I'm happy.
Perfect. Well, Thank you very much.
All right.